It's been a minute, but we have a conversation with MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy. I shouldn't say a minute. It's been last year, technically, since we had a sit-down conversation. A lot of stuff happening over the last few weeks, but, sir, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Yeah, I'll wish you officially a happy new year. Happy 2023.
And so far, there's been a lot happening, and it's been a great start to 2023 across the MIAA, but we'd be remiss if we didn't start this conversation with the passing of a legendary figure, not just in the MIAA, I think, but across Division II in the NCAA, the passing of Central Missouri Athletic Director Jerry Hughes over the weekend. I never had the privilege of sitting down and talking to him, but I've heard countless stories over the years about his impact on not just Central Missouri, but the MIAA, and it feels like Division II as a whole.
Yeah, Chris, huge loss for the University of Central Missouri, Division II. All of the MIAA were all better because we had a chance to work with someone like Jerry. Jerry's been in that AD chair at Central Missouri since the early 1980s. Great person to be around. The type of leader that makes all administrators better. A mentor to a number of coaches and current athletic directors. Just unbelievable how much Jerry has influenced and impacted everything we do. Prayers go to Vicky, his wife, and his kids and grandkids. They're doing a celebration of Jerry's life at the University of Central Missouri on Thursday, and it'll be well attended. They're going to broadcast that as well, Chris. And he is Division II, really. Everything that we have, everything that Division II is, really can be traced back to Jerry's leadership in the NCAA. So, that's really his legacy. The thousands and thousands of student athletes in Division II that he has benefited because of the great work that he did, and then the thousands to come that will benefit by being Division II student athletes and being able to compete in great championships and have all of the great programming that we have in Division II because of what Jerry Hughes provided.
One of the things that stood out to me about Jerry Hughes was the longevity of it, too. I mean, 40 years is a very long time in college athletics. I mean, how long he was at Central Missouri, how much he invested in the time. Is that something that you'll remember him for, too, is just how dedicated he was to, because 40 years at one job anymore is almost unheard of, regardless of what profession you're in.
Well, and that's why he's a legend in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. You have people that go into the Hall of Fame, and then you have people that get recognized as legends. And Jerry Hughes is one of the few people that have been recognized by the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame as a legend, and that's really why someone that stays in a position like that and really gives their life, their professional career to a university. The facilities that UCM has, the success that they've had on the field, student athletes in the classroom, the hundreds of doctors and attorneys and bankers and accountants and teachers and everybody that's passed through Central Missouri that had a chance to be a student athlete and to work with Jerry Hughes. And it's that longevity that makes him a giant in Division II and a legend in the state of Missouri.
Like you said, there'll be a celebration of life for Jerry Hughes at Central Missouri on Thursday. Want to switch gears a little bit too. You've been kind of out of town. I guess last week was if my days don't get away from me. NCAA convention. We talked about that back in December. About that was upcoming, and with the convention, that's where we kind of learn some maybe new things that are going to be affecting Division 1, Division 2, everything. Just what went on there that you can share with us too?
Yeah, we were in San Antonio in mid-January, and that's the NCAA convention every year is, as you said, Chris, where the important decisions get made for all three divisions in the NCAA. It's quite an event to have all of the commissioners and presidents and ADs, special guests, NCAA staff, all gathered under the same roof and actually conducting business. And, we were fortunate this year to have some important legislative proposals in front of the membership that the MIAA helped champion. Two of those in particular for the sport of football that got passed, 70% or more of the membership voting in favor of it. And we're really proud that we helped accomplish these changes, Chris. One is that beginning next year, our Division II football teams will be able to have joint scrimmages or practices in the spring with another school, and that's really exciting. The idea that Grand Valley State might come and have a joint scrimmage with Northwest Missouri State or something in the spring. That'll create a lot of interest and give our student athletes a special experience as part of spring ball. And then a really big change, Chris, in Division II football, again starting next year, for freshman student athletes competing in Division II. They can actually get in a few games and not use a season of eligibility. It's called our new redshirt rule. And a student athlete could play in up to 3 games at any point in the season, early, late, playoffs, get in some special teams action and get some experience on the field without using a season of eligibility. And I think this is going to help retention. That rule already existed in Division I and MIAA, and I think this will help us recruit and retain football players and have them be part of the Division II experience.
A lot of change, I think, coming to – we've said that since we started this conversation, almost 2 years ago, that a lot of changes coming across the NCAA and Division II and the MIAA. But another topic of conversation today, the creation of a new Division II football alliance, which when you hear the word alliance, everybody starts wondering, what is that going to mean? And this has the potential to do quite a bit for the landscape and the future of what Division II football, postseason championships, and everything will look like, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really think so. And this was really a major point of hallway conversation, Chris, at the NCAA convention. The MIAA and the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, the GLIAC, have taken a leadership role to try to put together an alliance and really a group to try to continue to accomplish some of the things I just highlighted with the legislative changes that got passed in San Antonio. The MIAA took the leadership on those proposals, and it was really hard to do. We had to bring together a number of conferences and get conferences to sign off on the legislation, and they had to take it to their conference meetings. And this idea of an alliance really will help that process. And the thought behind it, Chris, is that, football is such an important part of Division II's identity. Division II schools, many schools, they make huge investments in facilities, medical care, coaches' salaries, recruiting student athletes for the sport of football. A lot of campuses, it's the biggest investment and also the greatest opportunity athletic departments have to kind of reach alumni and potential sponsors and donors and kind of brand the university. So we need to get like-minded conferences around the table that can talk about ways to continue to enhance and elevate Division II football. We need to put on a good show when we have national television opportunities in our playoffs. We have to make Division II football exciting for our fans, something that is elevated, that allows our coaches to go out and continue to recruit high caliber scholar athletes that want to be part of Division II. And so this alliance that we hope to get started this spring will allow presidents and ADs and commissioners from conferences like the GLIAC, the Gulf South Conference, the Lone Star Conference, maybe a couple of others, to get around the table and talk about Division II football and how we can make it better, how we can continue to make it stronger, and how we can continue to elevate its brand when people think about Division II football and what it means.
You talk about the brand. Can this also strengthen Division II football as a whole as we continue to see Division I and the FBS and FCS figure out what they're going to be doing? Does that kind of cement what Division II wants to be? That way, once Division I figures it out, you guys already know, here's what Division II football is, here's what we want to stand for. And if for whatever reason FCS changes or stuff like that happens, Division II is locked in and knows exactly what you guys want to be in the future too.
Yeah. This is certainly a group that can be both strategic and reactive in the sense of a group that can be monitoring what's taking place around college football and other divisions or the NAIA, and to try to continue to do what's best for our membership. It's a grassroots group, Chris. This alliance is intended to be like no other committee or group in the NCAA. It's outside of the NCAA structure. It really doesn't have any decision-making authority, but it is a group with a platform that can talk about things that it wants to see happen and make referrals to appropriate groups, or come together and sponsor legislation like we talked about. But there's no other group in the NCAA that would allow the presidents, the ADs, and the commissioners to get around the table and talk about a particular sport and talk about where we're at, what other divisions are doing, and what we need to do to make Division II football better. So I'm excited about this group and getting it started and seeing the types of things that they may be able to achieve.
Here's I'm sure a question that people will start wondering about too is, can this group get the power? You talked about when games were on national television. Could this be kind of the first steps of saying we need to look at regionalization and, like you said, get legislation if needed in the right direction for the postseason, and what potential of the future Division II football playoffs look like too?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think it's a group that will have a lot of influence. I had the opportunity, Chris, to meet with the chair of the Division II football committee when I was in San Antonio at the convention. And she was very receptive to the Football Alliance. She's very interested in what that group will be able to talk about. And she wants to create a partnership between the Alliance and the D2 football committee. And as the Alliance comes up with ideas or suggestions, she's certainly open to letting those flow to the football committee for consideration. So, that's the type of partnership and cooperation that we'll need for ideas that might come out of the alliance to actually be successful. And it's a political process. It's one that, will require patience and, a lot of cooperation. But I just felt that this is a group that needed to be put together to allow, I think, a few conferences in Division II that, are worried about, okay, what's the future look like? What's Division I working on? How does that impact us? How does football overall impact Division II membership, and who wants to be part of Division II? And we need to be proactive in those areas and not reactive in order for us to continue to be successful.
There was a word in there that you smiled through, and that word was patience. And I think that's a word that everybody has to smile through at this point too, is there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of ever moving parts when it comes to college football, college athletics, and that kind of segues right into our next topic too, is a change in the MIAA. We've seen universities kind of come in, leave. It's the last several years too, and Lincoln University will be leaving the MIAA here the next, I believe. Well, I'll just let you take it away at this point because
Yeah,
there you
well,
go.
it's breaking news today, Chris. A press conference at Lincoln University that they have accepted an invitation to join the Great Lakes Valley Conference, effective with the fall 2024 sports season. So they will next year, the 2023-24 academic year will be a transition year for Lincoln University. They've been open and very transparent, Chris, as an institution, as they've tried to find a fit for membership that better aligns with some of the things that they want to do from a competition and scheduling standpoint. They've made no secret that they prefer to be able to go out and schedule HBCU schools as part of their football schedule, and perhaps the geography of the GLVC maybe works a little better for them, and certainly a number of schools that they're playing in other sports. So we wish Lincoln much success in their new conference. They've been a good member of the MIAA, but they're going to move on, and that'll again be effective in fall of 2024. One thing that does, Chris, is it opens up the opportunity for us to think a little bit different on what we want next year to look like for the MIAA. And, I'm happy to report that Lincoln's president, John Mosley, and our other MIAA division, MIAA football presidents have agreed that next fall, Lincoln will be viewed on our schedule as a non-conference opponent for all of our MIAA schools. And the presidents have agreed that if Lincoln and the MIAA school on a particular week want to play different opponents as non-conference games, that opportunity would be available. So I know Lincoln has targeted about 5 or 6 games on the schedule that they think that they might be able to get either a GLVC or an HBCU school to play them. And if our MIAA schools are able to find someone else that they'd like to play and that would perhaps help strengthen schedules and help position our schools in the MIAA a little better when it comes to NCAA selections and seeding, it seems like a win-win. So that's breaking news today as well, Chris, that there will be that scheduling opportunity in 2023. For 2024, we'll have to draw a new schedule. We'll have 11 football schools. We'll have an open week for everybody, and I'm hopeful that we might have maybe even one other week in the schedule that the athletic directors agree should be open for folks to find non-conference football games. We saw this past year that the closed schedule and being hurt in strength of schedule by everyone having an 0-11 Lincoln on that schedule really hurt Northwest Missouri State, hurt Pittsburgh State in seeding, hurt Emporia State as far as selections. So we want to do everything we can to make sure we're putting the MIAA and our member schools in football in the best possible position when it comes time for selections. And certainly we feel like opening up the schedule is going to allow us to do that. And we'll jumpstart that in 2023 for a few schools that are able to make that happen. And then 2024, that'll be how our schedule looks.
And of course, the question that everybody loves to debate is 11 schools going to be the future of the MIAA, or is like everything else, it's going to be a wait and see what happens and what the conference finds or what comes to the conference, I guess, in that aspect too?
Well, the presidents have agreed, Chris, that we're not going to sit back and wait. The MIAA will be aggressive in a pro-growth strategy. They decided that even before Lincoln started looking and considering perhaps a new place that they needed to compete. So our president spent a little time, Chris, at the NCAA convention talking about what that looks like. And they have put together a 4-person membership task force, all presidents, one president from each of our states where we have current MIAA members. And that group will be charged with really developing and executing strategic membership growth strategy for the MIAA over the next couple of years. So I'm confident that we will replace Lincoln really soon. And beyond that, we're going to continue to look to grow. And I think that growth will include both schools that have football and schools that don't have football located in the Midwest, Chris. I think that that's certainly our strategy. It may be moving into states outside of our current geographic footprint, but we need to always keep geography and length of trips in mind. And as we add schools, we'll get into discussions about how we divide and how we schedule and how we set up the conference. But certainly our presidents, Chris, are on record that the MIAA is going to grow. And now we have a group in place that's going to help us do that.
So you're saying you don't want to do the cross-country conference realignment that we're seeing other places?
Yeah, I think we're going to let the Big Ten have USC and UCLA.
Yeah.
And we'll focus our growth elsewhere. But again, I think there are plenty of great public regional institutions in the Midwest that fit that profile, that will see the benefits of competing and being part of a conference like the MIAA, what it has to offer, and especially as we look at divisions of how to set up the conference. We've already had a number of schools reach out, and I'm sure that number will continue to grow.
Just one kind of, I guess, curiosity question, and it's probably more of a preference too. When you talk about, growing the MIAA, and you see some conferences cap at a certain number too, are there pros and cons to each way you look at that, if that makes sense, whether you will keep growing or if you're a conference that says, no, we're going to stay at 12, we're going to stay at 10 or whatever it may be too, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think what the last couple of years has taught me as commissioner is that really there's no world that's static. There's no a world regarding membership that you can just kind of freeze and count on it staying exactly the way it is. So that means you're either in a strategy of growth, or you're in a strategy where you're trying to manage with a shrinking membership. And I think we want to be in a strategic position of growth and strength, and looking at ways that we can be innovative and creative in allowing that growth and enhancing the MIAA and demonstrating value to all of our current members as we continue to grow the MIAA and the MIAA network and the number of alumni and fans that follow the MIAA. All of that happens through growth, but it's got to be done strategic and it's got to be done responsibly. Where conferences get in trouble, Chris, is where they add schools just to add schools. Mm-hmm. And they're adding schools that aren't necessarily a good fit for the rest of the membership. And that's why I really think that part of our strategy, has to be looking at schools that look a lot like the rest of the MIAA membership. And that's a membership that's primarily, almost exclusively, regional public universities that serve a geographic area, and have a long history of not just success in athletics, but success as an institution. So as long as we stay true to that mission and focused on that objective, I think that growth of the MIAA will serve us well.
Get you out of here on this one final note. Probably be remiss if we didn't bring up MIAA basketball championships are, I don't know if it's good or bad to say out loud. It's scary. Maybe it's 5 weeks away, and here we go. March 1st to the 5th, back down at Municipal Auditorium, and you guys put it out earlier this week. Tickets on sale for the tournament championships, and it's always a blast to be down there, and it kind of scared me when I said it out loud that, 5 weeks away. We are now in March Madness of everything.
Yeah, the countdown's on, and this is a special year. This is our 20th anniversary of playing in historic Municipal Auditorium. It's going to be a great tournament. Both the men's side and the women's side are full of teams that are ranked in the Central Region and have a shot at an NCAA run in the playoffs. And the women's basketball part of the bracket will be played at night. The men's games will be in the afternoon, Chris. Wednesday, March 1st through Sunday, March the 5th. And the most important part of the message today is tickets are on sale now. And so get to a campus or get to the box office in Kansas City and buy a session pass or a full tournament ticket at a discounted rate. And we look forward to seeing everyone down there at Municipal Auditorium for MIAA Madness.
MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy, thank you as always for taking the time. Great conversation this week, and looking forward to our next one too.
You bet. Thank you, Chris.